Sarah Khan stared out the viewport of her small scout ship, the Curiosity. The vastness of space stretched before her, dotted with unfamiliar stars. She had been exploring this distant corner of the galaxy for months, searching for new life forms. Today, her persistence was about to pay off in ways she could never have imagined. "Captain, we're picking up unusual energy readings from the third planet in this system," reported her science officer, Dr. Liam Chen. Sarah's heart raced with excitement. "What kind of readings, Liam?" "It's unlike anything we've seen before. The energy signature suggests advanced technology, but it's different, almost organic in nature." Sarah nodded, her curiosity piqued. "All right, let's move in closer, but keep our shields up, just in case." As the Curiosity approached the mysterious planet, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and unease. The planet itself was a sight to behold. Swirling clouds of deep purple and midnight blue covered its surface, occasionally parting to reveal glimpses of a rocky, mountainous landscape below. "Captain, I'm detecting movement on the surface," Liam called out, his voice tense. "Multiple large life forms. They're moving incredibly fast." Sarah leaned forward in her chair, squinting at the main view screen. Suddenly, a dark shape streaked across the planet's surface, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Trees were flattened, rocks were shattered, and the very ground seemed to tremble. "What in the galaxy was that?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with awe and a hint of fear. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Captain, we've been spotted," shouted the security officer, Lieutenant Zara Patel. "Multiple objects approaching at high speed." Sarah's training kicked in. Evasive maneuvers, shields to maximum. The Curiosity lurched to the side as Zara skillfully piloted the ship away from the incoming threats. But their attackers were faster than anything Sarah had ever encountered. Dark, sleek shapes surrounded the ship, moving so quickly they were little more than blurs on the view screen. "What are they?" Sarah demanded, gripping the arms of her chair as the ship shook from a glancing blow. Liam's fingers flew over his console. "Scans are having trouble locking on, but, Captain, they appear to be some kind of predatory life form, highly evolved, with natural armor, and are those energy weapons growing out of their bodies?" As if in answer, a beam of crackling energy lanced out from one of the creatures, striking the Curiosity's shields. The ship rocked violently, and warning lights flashed across every console. "Shields down to 60%. Zara reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We can't take many more hits like that." Sarah's mind raced. They were outmatched, outgunned, and in completely unknown territory. But she hadn't come all this way to be defeated now. "Zara, plot a course out of the planet's gravity well. Liam, I need you to modulate our shield frequency. If we can't outrun them, maybe we can confuse them." As the Curiosity climbed higher into the planet's atmosphere, the strange creatures pursued relentlessly. Sarah watched in amazement as they effortlessly kept pace with the ship, their bodies seeming to ripple and shift to reduce air resistance. "They're intelligent," she murmured. "Look how they're coordinating their attacks." Indeed, the creatures had formed a precise formation around the ship, herding it away from the planet, but not allowing it to escape. Sarah realized with a chill that they were being toyed with, like prey being played with by a particularly cunning predator. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Liam's modifications to the shields paid off. The next energy blast from one of the creatures passed harmlessly through the Curiosity's defenses, confusing their attackers. "Now, Zara," Sarah commanded. "Full power to engines." The Curiosity shot forward, breaking free of the planet's atmosphere and streaking into open space. The predators fell behind, apparently unwilling or unable to follow them beyond their home world. As the danger passed and the adrenaline began to fade, Sarah slumped back in her chair, her mind reeling from what they had just experienced. "Status report," she said quietly. Liam spoke up first, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, I've never seen anything like those creatures. Their biology, their technology. It's beyond anything in our databases. This could be the most significant discovery in galactic history. Sarah nodded slowly, a mix of emotions swirling within her. Fear, excitement, and an overwhelming sense of curiosity. Send a coded message to Galactic Command, she ordered. Tell them we've made first contact with a species that could change everything we thought we knew about life in the universe. As the Curiosity limped away from the mysterious planet, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something much bigger. Little did she know, her encounter with these deadly predators would soon set in motion events that would shock the entire galaxy. The news of Sarah Khan's discovery spread through the Galactic Union like wildfire. Within days, a fleet of research vessels and diplomatic ships was assembled and dispatched to the newly discovered planet. Sarah's small scout ship, the Curiosity, led the way. Admiral Jacksroth, a veteran of countless first contact missions, stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Peacemaker. He watched the swirling purple and blue planet grow larger on the view screen. Captain Khan, he said, addressing Sarah's holographic image. Are you sure about this? Your report suggests these shadow claws are incredibly dangerous. Sarah nodded, her face serious. They are, Admiral, but they're also intelligent. I believe we can communicate with them if we're careful. Admiral Roth sighed. Very well. We'll follow your lead. But at the first sign of trouble, we're pulling back. Understood. Yes, sir, Sarah replied. As the fleet entered the planet's orbit, tension filled the air. Scientists eagerly scanned the surface, while security officers kept their fingers hovering over weapon controls. Dr. Elena Rossi, the lead xenobiologist, gasped as her instruments picked up readings. This is incredible. The Shadow Claw's biology is like nothing we've ever seen. It's as if they're part organic, part energy. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. Multiple fast-moving objects detected, shouted a sensor operator. They're coming up from the surface. Sarah's heart raced. This was just like her first encounter. Everyone, stay calm, she said over the comms. Let's try to establish contact. Admiral Roth nodded to his communications officer. Broadcast on all frequencies. Use the first contact package we prepared. As the message of peace began transmitting, sleek, dark shapes appeared around the ships. The Shadow Claws moved with impossible grace, their bodies rippling with barely contained energy. For a moment, everything was still. Sarah held her breath, hoping against hope that this time would be different. Then, chaos erupted. A Shadow Claw near the Peacemaker suddenly lashed out, a beam of crackling energy erupting from its body. The beam sliced through the shields of a nearby research vessel like they weren't even there. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Roth shouted. All ships, defend yourselves. The space around the planet exploded into a frenzy of movement and light. Shadow Claws darted between ships, their natural weapons tearing through hulls and shields. The fleet's own weapons seemed to have little effect, often passing right through the creature's shifting forms. Sarah watched in horror as ship after ship fell to the Shadow Claw's attacks. This isn't right, she muttered. They're too coordinated, too aggressive. It's like they're protecting something, Dr. Rossi finished, her eyes wide with realization. Captain, look at their attack pattern. They're pushing us away from a specific area of the planet. Sarah's mind raced. Admiral, she called out, we need to retreat. Now. There's something we're missing here. Admiral Roth, his face grim, nodded. All ships, fall back. Maximum speed. As the battered fleet began to withdraw, the Shadow Claw's attacks became less intense. They herded the ships away from the planet, much like they had done to the Curiosity during the first encounter. Once they were a safe distance away, Admiral Roth called an emergency meeting of all ship captains and lead scientists. This is a disaster, he said, pacing the conference room of the Peacemaker. We've lost 3 ships and have dozens of injured crew members. The Galactic Union will want answers. Sarah stepped forward. Admiral, I take full responsibility. I thought we could communicate with them, but clearly I was wrong. Dr. Rossi shook her head. Not necessarily, Captain. Their behavior was too specific to be simple aggression. They were guarding something on that planet, something they clearly don't want us to see or reach. A murmur went through the room. Admiral Roth raised an eyebrow. Are you suggesting we try again? After this? No, Sarah said firmly. At least, not with a fleet. The Shadow Claws see us as a threat. We need to try a different approach. What do you propose, Captain Khan? Admiral Roth asked, his tone skeptical. Sarah took a deep breath. Let me go back. Alone. In the Curiosity. Maybe if they see it's just me, they'll be less aggressive. The room erupted in protests. Admiral Roth held up a hand for silence. You're either very brave or very foolish, Captain. Possibly both. He sighed heavily. I'll have to consult with Galactic Command. But given the circumstances, they might just be desperate enough to approve this crazy plan. As the meeting adjourned, Sarah stood by a viewport, gazing at the distant purple and blue planet. Despite everything that had happened, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the Shadow Claws than met the eye. And she was determined to find out what it was, no matter the cost. Sarah Khan stood before the Galactic Union Council, her posture straight and her gaze unwavering. The semicircle of alien and human faces looked back at her with a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and barely concealed fear. Captain Khan, began Counselor Zix, a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. Your proposal is unusual, to say the least. You wish to return to the Shadowclaw planet alone. After the disaster of our last attempt. Sarah nodded firmly. Yes, Counselor. I believe it's our best chance at establishing peaceful contact. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Admiral Roth, standing to the side, cleared his throat. I can vouch for Captain Khan's skills and judgment. If anyone can pull this off, it's her. The head of the council, a wise old human named Dr. Amelia Chen, leaned forward. Captain, please explain your reasoning. Why do you think this approach will work? Sarah took a deep breath. During both encounters, the Shadow Claws showed signs of intelligence and coordination. They didn't just attack blindly. They herded us away from specific areas of their planet. I believe they're protecting something, possibly their young or a valuable resource. She continued, her voice growing more passionate. By going alone in a small ship, I hope to appear less threatening. I can move more freely, potentially discover what they're guarding, and find a way to communicate our peaceful intentions. The council chamber fell silent as the members considered her words. Finally, Dr. Chen spoke. It's risky, Captain, very risky. But given the potential benefits of establishing relations with such an advanced species, and the dangers if we don't, we approve your mission. As Sarah left the chamber, she was met by her crew from the Curiosity. Dr. Liam Chen, her science officer, looked worried. Sarah, are you sure about this? It's practically suicide. Sarah gave him a small smile. Maybe. But it's a risk I have to take. The Shadow Claws could revolutionize our understanding of biology and technology. And if we don't find a way to communicate with them, they'll always be seen as a threat. Lieutenant Zara Patel, her pilot and friend, put a hand on Sarah's shoulder. We understand. Just be careful, okay? Come back in one piece. Over the next few days, Sarah prepared intensively for her solo mission. She studied everything they knew about the Shadow Claws, practiced new evasive maneuvers, and even began learning to interpret the energy patterns the creatures seemed to use for communication. The night before her departure, Sarah couldn't sleep. She stood in the Curiosity's small cargo bay, checking her equipment one last time. A soft chime announced a visitor. Come in, she called out. Admiral Roth entered, looking uncomfortable in the tight space. I thought I'd find you here, he said. Nervous? Sarah shrugged. A little, but mostly excited. This is why I became an explorer, Admiral. To make connections no one else has made before. Roth nodded slowly. I understand. But remember, your life is more important than any discovery. If things go south, you get out of there. That's an order. Yes, sir, Sarah replied with a smile. The next morning, Sarah stood at the Curiosity's helm, watching as the hangar bay doors slowly opened. Beyond them lay the vast expanse of space, and somewhere out there, a purple and blue planet full of mysteries. Curiosity to control, she said into her comm. Ready for departure. Godspeed, Captain Khan, came the response. The hopes of the Galactic Union go with you. As the Curiosity glided out of the hangar, Sarah felt a mix of emotions wash over her. Fear, excitement, determination. But above all, a burning curiosity to uncover the truth about the Shadow Claws. The journey to the planet was uneventful, giving Sarah plenty of time to review her plans and backup plans. As the swirling purple and blue orb grew larger in her view screen, she took a deep breath. Well, she muttered to herself, here goes nothing. The Curiosity entered the planet's atmosphere, and almost immediately, Sarah's sensors lit up. The Shadow Claws had detected her, but instead of the all-out attack she had half expected, she saw something different. The creatures were gathering, forming a pattern around her ship. They're escorting me, Sarah whispered in awe. As the Curiosity descended towards the planet's surface, guided by the Shadow Claws, Sarah realized that her unconventional approach might just work after all. She was about to go where no human had gone before, and the fate of two species might rest on what she discovered. With a mix of trepidation and excitement, Sarah prepared to land on the mysterious world of the Shadow Claws. The Curiosity touched down gently on the purple soil of the Shadow Claw planet. Sarah Khan took a deep breath, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. Through the view screen, she could see the swirling, dark forms of the Shadow Claws surrounding her ship. Well, she muttered to herself, it's now or never. Sarah put on her specially designed exosuit, which would protect her from the planet's harsh atmosphere. With shaking hands, she opened the airlock and stepped out onto the alien world. The Shadow Claws moved closer, their bodies rippling with energy. Sarah stood still, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible. She raised her hands slowly, palms out, in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. Hello, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I come in peace. To her amazement, the Shadow Claws didn't attack. Instead, they began to emit pulses of energy in complex patterns. Sarah's suit sensors picked up the energy waves, translating them into visual data on her helmet display. They're communicating, Sarah realized with awe. Suddenly, a larger Shadow Claw approached. Its body seemed to shimmer with more intense energy than the others. As it came closer, Sarah felt a strange sensation in her mind, like a gentle probing. Are you trying to connect with me? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The large Shadow Claw's energy patterns changed, becoming more focused. Sarah gasped as images began to flood her mind. She saw flashes of the Shadow Claw's history, their evolution from simple energy beings to the complex creatures they were now. This is incredible, Sarah breathed. You're not just predators. You're guardians. Through the mental link, Sarah understood that the Shadow Claws were protectors of their planet. The area they had been so fiercely guarding was a nursery for their young, where new Shadow Claws were born from the planet's energy core. The large Shadow Claw, Sarah realized it was their leader, showed her images of other alien races who had tried to exploit their planet's resources. The Shadow Claws had fought back, earning a fearsome reputation in the process. But we're different, Sarah projected her thoughts, hoping the Shadow Claw could understand. We want to learn to understand. We don't want to harm you or your world. The Shadow Claw leader's energy patterns shifted again. Sarah felt a sense of curiosity and cautious hope emanating from the creature. It was considering her words. Suddenly, the leader made a decision. It extended a tendril of energy towards Sarah. Instinctively, she reached out her hand. As they touched, a surge of energy flowed between them. Sarah gasped as knowledge flooded her mind. She saw the complex social structure of the Shadow Claws, their deep connection to their planet's energy, and their advanced understanding of physics that humans had barely begun to grasp. In return, the Shadow Claw leader saw flashes of human history, our triumphs and failures, our art and music, our dreams of peaceful coexistence with other species. As the connection faded, Sarah stumbled back, overwhelmed by the experience. The Shadow Claw leader steadied her with a gentle energy field. "Thank you," Sarah said, her voice filled with emotion. "I understand now, and I promise we'll find a way to coexist peacefully." The Shadow Claw leader's energy pulsed in what Sarah now recognized as agreement. It turned to the other Shadow Claws and emitted a series of complex energy patterns. The other creatures responded, their bodies glowing with excitement. Sarah's suit computer translated the energy patterns. "The human speaks truth. She is friend. We will share knowledge." Tears of joy welled up in Sarah's eyes. She had done it. Against all odds, she had made a connection with the galaxy's most feared predators. As the Shadow Claws guided her towards their energy core, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the turn of events. What had started as a terrifying encounter had become the most profound experience of her life. She activated her long-range communicator, Curiosity to Galactic Union. "You're not going to believe this, but we have made peaceful contact with the Shadow Claws. Prepare for the most incredible cultural exchange in galactic history." As Sarah followed her new allies, she knew that this was just the beginning. The universe, it seemed, was full of wonders beyond imagination, and humanity, with its curiosity and empathy, had a unique role to play in uncovering those wonders. The Shadow Claws, once feared as the deadliest predators in the galaxy, were about to become humanity's most fascinating allies. Days turned into weeks as Sarah Khan immersed herself in the world of the Shadow Claws. Each moment brought new wonders and revelations. The Galactic Union had agreed to give her time to learn and understand these fascinating creatures before any official diplomatic missions were sent. Sarah stood at the edge of a glowing purple canyon, her exosuit gleaming in the alien light. Beside her, the Shadow Claw leader, whom she had come to call Lumina, pulsed with gentle energy. "So, your young are born from the planet's energy core?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with awe. Lumina's energy patterns shifted, forming complex shapes that Sarah's suit translated. "Yes, our children are born of pure energy, taking physical form as they grow." Sarah shook her head in amazement. "It's beautiful, so different from how humans are born." As they walked along the canyon's edge, Sarah shared stories of human birth, childhood, and family structures. Lumina listened intently, its energy patterns flickering with curiosity. "Your species is so diverse," Lumina communicated. "How do you maintain unity?" Sarah laughed. "It's not always easy, but our differences are also our strength. We learn from each other, grow together." They spent hours exchanging ideas about society, culture, and philosophy. Sarah was fascinated by the Shadow Claws' collective consciousness, how they could share thoughts and experiences across vast distances. In return, she taught them about human art, music, and literature. She showed them images of Earth's diverse landscapes and explained the concept of nations and cultures. One day, as they stood watching young Shadow Claws practice their energy manipulation, Sarah had an idea. "Lumina," she said excitedly, "would you like to try something from human culture? A game we play." Lumina's energy pulsed with interest. "A game? What is its purpose?" Sarah grinned. "Fun, mainly, but also to develop skills and bond with others." She proceeded to teach Lumina and a group of young Shadow Claws the game of soccer, using an energy ball they created. It was a sight to behold. Glowing energy beings darting across the purple field, passing the ball with precision. As the weeks passed, Sarah delved deeper into Shadow Claw society. She learned their language of energy pulses, practiced their meditation techniques, and even attempted to manipulate small amounts of energy herself. The Shadow Claws, in turn, became increasingly curious about human ways. They were particularly fascinated by human technology, which approached problems so differently from their energy-based solutions. One evening, as Sarah sat with a group of Shadow Claws watching the planet's 3 moons rise, she felt a deep sense of contentment. She had come to this world expecting to find deadly predators. Instead, she had found friends, teachers, and kindred spirits. "Sarah," Lumina communicated, its energy patterns gentle. "We have a gift for you." Intrigued, Sarah followed Lumina to a secluded cave. Inside, the walls glowed with pulsing energy. Lumina gestured towards a small, shimmering object floating in the center of the cave. "This is an energy crystal," Lumina explained. "It contains the collected knowledge of our people. We want you to have it, to share with your kind." Sarah's eyes widened. "Lumina, I'm honored. But are you sure? This seems incredibly valuable." Lumina's energy rippled in what Sarah now recognized as laughter. "Knowledge is most valuable when shared, Sarah. You have shared so much of your world with us. Now we return the favor." As Sarah carefully took the crystal, she felt its energy hum in resonance with her own bioelectric field. It was as if she could sense the vast knowledge contained within. "Thank you," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "I promise to use this wisely, to help our peoples understand each other better." Lumina pulsed warmly. "We know you will, Sarah. You have shown us that humans, despite their differences from us, are capable of great empathy and understanding. You have changed how we see the galaxy." As they exited the cave, Sarah looked up at the star-filled sky. She thought about how much had changed in just a few weeks. The feared predators of the galaxy were now allies, friends even. And she, Sarah Khan, had been the bridge between their worlds. "You've changed how I see the galaxy too," Sarah said softly. "I can't wait to see what we'll learn from each other in the years to come." As the Shadow Claws glowed in agreement around her, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful partnership between their species. The galaxy, it seemed, was full of surprises, and humanity was ready to embrace them all. The news of Sarah Khan's successful contact with the Shadow Claws spread through the galaxy like a supernova. As her ship, the Curiosity, docked at the Galactic Union's central station, chaos erupted. Reporters from 100 worlds crowded the docking bay, their cameras and recording devices floating in the air. Security drones buzzed overhead, trying to maintain order. The air was thick with excitement and tension. Sarah stepped out of her ship, flanked by 2 Shadow Claw representatives. The crowd gasped. Many had never seen a Shadow Claw up close before. The energy beings glowed softly, their forms shifting and swirling. "Captain Khan," a reporter shouted, "is it true you've made peace with the galaxy's deadliest predators?" Sarah smiled calmly. "The Shadow Claws are not predators, but a highly advanced, peaceful species. We've simply misunderstood each other until now." Her words sent shockwaves through the assembled crowd. Murmurs of disbelief and excitement rippled through the air. As Sarah and the Shadow Claws made their way to the Galactic Council chambers, reactions varied wildly. Some aliens reached out, trying to touch the Shadow Claws in wonder. Others shrank back in fear, old prejudices dying hard. Inside the council chambers, the atmosphere was no less charged. Representatives from every major galactic species sat in tiered seats, their faces showing a mix of emotions. Dr. Amelia Chen, head of the council, called for order. "Captain Sarah Khan," she said, her voice echoing through the room, "you have done what many thought impossible. Please, tell us about your experiences with the Shadow Claws." Sarah stepped forward, the energy crystal given to her by Lumina glowing softly in her hand. "Honored council members," she began, "what I've learned on the Shadow Claw world has changed everything we thought we knew about them." For the next hour, Sarah spoke about the Shadow Claws' culture, their energy-based technology, and their deep connection to their home planet. She explained how their fierce protection of their world had been misinterpreted as aggression. As she spoke, holographic images appeared above her, showing the beauty of the Shadowclaw world and the peaceful interactions she had experienced. The council members listened in rapt attention, but as Sarah finished her presentation, the chamber erupted into chaos. "This is preposterous," shouted Zix, the blue-skinned alien. "These creatures have attacked our ships. They've killed our people." Others voiced their agreement, their shouts filling the air. But some council members seemed moved by Sarah's words. A tall tree-like being named Arbora raised her branch-like arm. "Perhaps," she said in a rustling voice, "we have been too quick to judge. If Captain Khan's words are true, this could be a new era for our galaxy." The debate raged on. Some called Sarah a hero, praising her bravery and diplomacy. Others labeled her a traitor, accusing her of being brainwashed by the Shadowclaws. Through it all, Sarah stood firm, the Shadowclaw representatives glowing calmly beside her. She had expected this reaction, but it still saddened her to see how deep-rooted the fear and mistrust were. Finally, Admiral Roth stepped forward. "I've known Captain Khan for years," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "She's one of our best and brightest. If she says the Shadowclaws are peaceful, I believe her." His words seemed to calm the room somewhat. Dr. Chen seized the moment. "We need time to process this information," she announced. "Captain Khan, we request that you and the Shadowclaw representatives remain here for further discussions. We must approach this situation carefully." As the council session adjourned, Sarah found herself surrounded by a mix of admirers and skeptics. Some council members approached the Shadowclaws cautiously, asking questions and marveling at their energy-based forms. Sarah felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Dr. Elinga Rossi, the xenobiologist from the first expedition. "Captain," she said, her eyes shining with excitement, "what you've discovered, it's revolutionary. The scientific implications alone are staggering." Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of pride and weariness. "It's a lot to take in, I know, but I believe this can be the start of something amazing for all of us." As she looked around the room, seeing the mix of fear, wonder, and curiosity on the faces of the galaxy's representatives, Sarah knew that her journey was far from over. She had opened the door to a new era of galactic relations, but it would take time and patience to fully realize the potential of this new alliance. The Shadowclaws pulsed gently beside her, their energy patterns conveying calm and resolve. Together, they faced the storm of controversy, ready to bridge the gap between their worlds and usher in a new age of understanding for the entire galaxy. 5 years had passed since Sarah Khan's groundbreaking first contact with the Shadowclaws. The galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the newly built Harmony Station, a massive space structure orbiting a neutral star system. The station was a marvel of joint human and Shadowclaw engineering, its corridors bustling with beings from across the galaxy. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Admiral Roth said, joining her at the window. His hair had more gray now, but his eyes still sparkled with the same energy. Sarah nodded, smiling. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come." Below them, the station's docking bays were filled with ships of all shapes and sizes. Most notably, sleek Shadowclaw vessels pulsed with energy alongside traditional metal starships. "The Galactic Union meeting is about to start," Roth reminded her, "ready to make history again." Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. Together, they made their way to the Grand Council chamber. Inside, representatives from every known spacefaring race were seated. At the center, glowing softly, was Lumina, now the official Shadowclaw ambassador. Sarah took her place beside Lumina, representing the human Shadowclaw alliance. Dr. Amelia Chen, still head of the Galactic Council, called the meeting to order. "Today," she announced, her voice filled with emotion, "we gather to ratify the Galactic Concordance, a new treaty of peace and cooperation between all our peoples." A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing the text of the treaty. It was the culmination of years of hard work, cultural exchange, and diplomacy. None of this would have been possible, Dr. Chen continued, without the bravery and vision of Captain Sarah Khan and the openness of the Shadowclaw people. Applause filled the chamber. Sarah felt a warmth in her chest, remembering the struggles and triumphs of the past 5 years. There had been challenges, of course. Some races had resisted the idea of alliance with the Shadowclaws. There had been misunderstandings, even a few armed conflicts. But slowly, steadily, understanding had grown. The Shadowclaws had shared their advanced energy technology, revolutionizing power systems across the galaxy. In return, they had learned from the diversity of the Galactic Union, embracing new ideas and ways of thinking. As the council members began to sign the treaty, Sarah reflected on some of the changes she had seen. A new academy had been established where students from all races, including young Shadowclaws, studied together. Joint scientific missions explored the furthest reaches of the galaxy, combining the strengths of different species. A galactic translation network, based on Shadowclaw energy patterns, allowed for easier communication between all races. Ancient conflicts had been resolved through the Shadowclaw's unique ability to share emotions and memories across species. When it was her turn, Sarah stepped forward to sign the treaty. As she did, she felt Lumina's energy pulse beside her in harmony. Together, Lumina's energy patterns conveyed, "We have shown the galaxy a better way." Sarah nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. "And this is just the beginning," she replied. As the ceremony concluded, the chamber erupted in cheers and celebrations. Beings of all kinds mingled, their differences now a source of fascination rather than fear. Later, at a quiet reception, Sarah found herself approached by a young Shadowclaw. Its energy patterns were tinged with curiosity and admiration. "You're Sarah Khan," it pulsed, "the one who first understood us. I've been studying human history. How did you know to trust us when everyone else was afraid?" Sarah smiled, thinking back to that first encounter on the Shadowclaw world. "I chose to see beyond appearances," she said softly. "To look for the intelligence, the feelings behind the unfamiliar form. That's the key, I think. To always be willing to understand, no matter how strange something might seem at first." The young Shadowclaw's energy brightened with excitement. "I hope to be an explorer like you someday," it pulsed. "To find new worlds, new friends among the stars." Sarah felt a surge of hope. This was why she had taken that risk years ago. Not for fame or glory, but for moments like this, for a future where the galaxy's children, of all species, could dream of peaceful exploration and friendship. As she looked out at the diverse crowd, at the station that symbolized their new unity, Sarah Khan knew that humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not as conquerors or victims, but as bridge builders, peacekeepers, and explorers. The future stretched out before them, bright with possibilities. And it all began with a simple choice to understand rather than fear the unknown.